The war between heaven and hell is taking place on Earth, and only John Constantine can save us. In 2005, Keanu Reeves starred as Constantine, a rough-around-the-edges, chain-smoking occult investigator who sets out to rid the world of terrifying demons. A man who is doomed to go to hell, whom heaven won't accept, who is tortured by seeing all the frightening ghouls that we can't see. Constantine teams up with a woman called Angela, played by Rachel Weisz, after her sister supposedly takes her life, which leads them to an explosive out-of-this-world quest in this action-packed supernatural noir movie. So today we are going to end the Halloween season of 2020 by looking into 10 things that you didn't know about Constantine, to see if it's an underrated gem or if it was indeed a cinematic misfire. So let's check it out. Number 10. Origins of Constantine. Constantine is based on the DC Comics character. The cigarette-smoking occult investigator made his debut in 1985 in the Saga of the Swamp Thing comic. The rogue anti-hero was the creation of comic book legend Alan Moore, who also created Watchmen and V for Vendetta, as well as writing the classic Batman comic The Killing Joke. Constantine was originally described as originating from Liverpool but operating in London. John Constantine got his own comic book in 1988 with the Hellblazer comic book series, which increased the character's popularity. And unlike the movie where the character is played by a dark-haired Keanu Reeves, the original blonde look of the character was based on Sting. And yeah, if you look at that, he totally looks like Sting. Empire magazine would go on to rank Constantine at number 3 in a list of 50 greatest comic book characters of all time. Incidentally, Swamp Thing also got his own movie, but much earlier though, with the 1982 caper, which was directed by Wes Craven. I've already done an episode on that movie and you should totally check it out. It's a good episode. Number 9. Production started 8 years before the movie's release. A Constantine movie was in the works as early as 1997, with Lauren Donner at the helm of producer. Donner is the wife to Superman director Richard Donner, and she also produced the X-Men movie, as well as, Free Willy? Okay. Bulletproof Monk director Paul Hunter was originally attached to be director, but as time went on he was replaced with the Cell director, Tarsem Singh. And given the surreal, nightmarish, supernatural visuals of that film, he would have seemed like a good choice. The director who ended up getting the job was I Am Legend and Hunger Games director Francis Lawrence, in which Constantine was actually his directional debut. Constantine's creator Alan Moore didn't want to be acknowledged in the movie's credits, as he was disappointed with other theatrical releases based on his works, those being From Hell and The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, so I guess he thought that Hollywood would only screw it up. He also requested that his royalties of the film to not be paid to him, but instead divided up to other creators. Number 8. Original choice to play Constantine. It was during Constantine's early production in 2002 that Nicolas Cage signed up to play the part. Yeah, just imagine Cage as Constantine. He definitely would have been, well, a lot more quirky and eccentric to say the least. But as the production went on, he left the part, and instead the internet's favourite nice guy Keanu Reeves was cast in the role. Reeves had just come off his success of playing Neo in the Matrix trilogy, so he was ripe for the part, particularly when it comes to on-screen action. However, it was decided that Reeves would keep his natural dark hair colour, along with his American accent, despite the character originally being blonde and from Liverpool, England. But hey, after Bram Stoker's Dracula, it was probably a good idea to not have Reeves try to imitate an English accent again. So yeah, the live-action DC multiverse went from Reeves to Reeve, back to having a Reeves again. So Nicolas Cage was going to play both Superman and Constantine, but neither happened. However, he did finally play a comic book character in 2007 with Ghost Rider. And yes, as you would imagine, he was totally batshit insane in that film. Number 7. Original title and other changes. The original title of the movie was going to be Hellblazer, based on the name of the comic featuring Constantine. However, it was decided to call it Constantine instead, as there were worries that people would confuse the title Hellblazer with the Hellraiser film series. The irony of this is the Hellblazer comics were originally going to be called Hellraiser, but once again there were fears that people would confuse it with the popular Hellraiser films, so it became Hellblazer. There are actually several changes made to the Constantine lore that are different to the comics. For example, the movie takes place in Los Angeles, unlike the comics which were mainly based in London. There were the physical differences between Keanu Reeves and the comic book counterpart as mentioned, along with other changes as well, with the Constantine character having additional powers like the psychic ability to see half-breeds in their true form unlike the comic. Also missing from the movie was Constantine's backstory, where in the comics since a young age he had been dabbling in the occult and magic. The Constantine movie script was based on the 6-part comic book saga Dangerous Habits, which was published in 1991. Number 6. Deleted character. The Hellblazer comics features a character called Ellie, who is a half-breed demon and love interest of Constantine. And originally it was decided to include this character into the movie. The part was cast with actress Michelle Monaghan, who is probably best known for the Mission Impossible movies, and her scenes were actually filmed. However, in Constantine's post-production it was decided to make Constantine come across as a lonely character, a lost and broken soul who walks this realm and beyond on his own, and that he may not have seemed so lonely if he had a girlfriend. So the scenes involving the Ellie character were cut. And personally I think that does help the movie, as not having Ellie makes him seem more isolated from his surroundings and tormented. Number 5. Recycled prop. The powerful Spear of Destiny that we see in Constantine is actually a recycled prop that was previously used 1 year earlier for the Hellboy movie. The irony being Hellboy is also based on a comic book with a supernatural setting. I even wonder if this was meant to be hinting that the two movies exist in the same universe, which is a pretty cool idea. Speaking of crossing movies, Constantine is something of a reunion of Keanu Reeves and actress Rachel Weisz, as the two had previously starred together in the 1996 action movie Chain Reaction. However, that movie pretty much went unnoticed upon its release. My guess is probably because of the boring font used on the poster, but yeah, that's just a guess. But in all seriousness, in order to prepare herself for the part, Rachel Weisz even visited a morgue, proving that she's not afraid to do some pretty grim research when it comes to a movie role. And as for the Holy Shotgun prop, well, Keanu Reeves himself ended up buying the prop and giving it to Constantine's director Francis Lawrence as a gift. Now, you see, this right here, this is why everyone loves Keanu Reeves. He's endlessly a nice guy. Number 4. Constantine posters. The original theatrical poster of Constantine is this dark and dreary one, where we see Keanu Reeves' head shrouded by smoke. Although it's cool that you can see demons in the smoke, to me this poster just looks boring and doesn't say anything about the movie. Especially those who don't know Constantine would be really lost by this poster. Another poster that was used was this one of the Constantine character walking through grainy looking smoke. It's an upgrade from the previous one, but still isn't particularly visually interesting. There was an extended version of this poster which shows angel wings behind Constantine, which does look better. They would redo this poster with Constantine now in a more action stance pose. A frequent poster that was used in Australia was this one, with Constantine in the centre of a black and white double-sided background. And is it just me, or does this look like it's paying homage to Scarface? It's not just me, right? In fact, several action movies follow this gimmick of having posters of our main heroes standing in front of a black and white two-sided background. It's weird. To me, the best poster of the movie was this one, which was used on a lot of Constantine's home media releases. And its use of colours is visually pleasing, and it shows us that this is an action movie with a biblical and supernatural element, and it perfectly demonstrates that Constantine is stuck in a battle between heaven and hell. So tell me, out of all those movie posters, which one is your favourite? Number 3. Original depiction of hell. The hell that we see in Constantine looks really epic, as it looks like a destroyed and burning, desolate version of our own world, and the images of hell in Constantine are definitely a highlight of the movie. However, in the original script, hell was just meant to be a black void, with a ground that was made up of oil. However, director Francis Lawrence decided to take inspiration from nuclear test footage from the 1940s and decided to base the terrifying, fiery look of these nuclear explosions on the hellscape that we see in Constantine, in that it's a terrifying, destructive force that surrounds our own dimension, a force of fire and destruction. Speaking of changes made to the script, the start of the movie was actually meant to take place in Istanbul, but the location was changed due to budgetary reasons. However, Constantine was in good hands when it came to its special effects, as the effects of many of the creatures and makeup of the movie were provided by the Stan Winston Studio Artists crew. Number 2. The director wanted Constantine to be scarier. When talking about the possibilities of making a Constantine sequel, director Francis Lawrence said that if it was to happen, it would need to be really dark and scary, and then cited the fact that when Constantine was made, it was made in a PG-13 and R-rated no man's land, in that despite the fact that the movie was rated R, it still never went all out with its full potential given the subject matter, and probably felt a little too safe and restrained. He further said that he would love to do a more full-on scary hard R version. The sequel never happened, but in 2012 there were plans to make a Justice League movie and for Constantine to be one of the characters, but this also didn't end up happening. As late as 2019, Keanu Reeves had stated that he would be up for returning as Constantine. However, in 2020 it was announced that there would be a new Constantine movie with J.J. Abrams as producer. And at this stage it's probably more likely to be a reboot, disconnected from the 2005 movie. However, in 2014 there was a short-lived Constantine TV series which only lasted one season. And I've never seen it. So if you're a Constantine fan and need your Constantine live-action fix, then all you have is either the movie or the 13-part series. For now at least. Number 1. Constantine Unleashed. Constantine was slated to be released in September 2004. But its release got pushed back to February 2005, and it opened up at the number 2 spot behind the Will Smith comedy Hitch. Overall, Constantine made $230.9 million on a budget that sat somewhere between $70 to $100 million, so it did bring in a tidy profit. However, the reviews were very mixed. On the account of Keanu Reeves' casting, some felt that it was just a Matrix clone, only given a supernatural twist, whereas fans of the comics felt that it strayed too far away from the original source material. So it seemed to have been stuck in this dead end, where those who weren't aware of the comics weren't interested or didn't understand it, and those who were fans of the comics found it too alienating on the account of the differences from its comic books. New York Daily Times flat out called it silly. However, several reviews praised the movie's visuals, and Time magazine gave it a more favourable review, stating that Constantine feels like a theological noir action film. After its release, Constantine pretty much slipped into obscurity and was forgotten about. From my own perspective, of course. Probably because a few months after its release, it was overshadowed by fellow DC movie Batman Begins. However, in recent years, fans have gone back to Constantine and said, you know what, it actually wasn't that bad. And I would go as far as to say it's become a cult movie. I find it to be similar to the Spawn movie which came out 8 years earlier, in that it's a comic book movie which mixes action with horror, but it got overlooked upon its release but would become more appreciated in time. To sum it up, the special effects are great, as is the action, and Keanu Reeves has the charm and charisma to carry the movie as the tormented, chain-smoking anti-hero. I mean, it's not a masterpiece, but it is a fun, enjoyable action movie. So it's time to step back into the world of Constantine 2005 and give this horror action movie another go. Besides, in what other movie are you going to see Keanu Reeves give Satan the finger? That is awesome. I think it's best to view the movie without the expectations of it being exactly like the comics, and that creative liberties have been taken. But if you can deal with that, then you'll find that Constantine is an exciting, action-packed movie, and is competently made. If you like the Spawn and Blade movies, then you'll no doubt get enjoyment from Constantine. Anyway, I'm Minty, and remember, Constantine is the hero that heaven won't take, but the hero that Earth needs. See ya!